Sorry I'm late. I was chasing a story. Some other mobster is finally making a move on Silvermane.
Burned down his mansion a couple of nights ago.
Killed 6 of his men, and somehow the old bastard escaped.
I think Finbarr likes being called Silvermane. Thinks it speaks to, gravitas and longevity.
If I ever get that rich, you call me anything you want.
That's a used pickle.
But how much experience have you got with taxi drivers?
Quite a bit.
Yeah, we have quite a lot of Dublin taxi drivers that see themselves as philosophers, and will treat you to the benefit of their wisdom and insight on journeys where you just want to actually kind of get there. So he's the kind of philosopher that self-justifies, and he actually, in my view, is quite insightful and quite cunning and quite perceptive with regard to human nature and emotional kind of intelligence. He gets how people are, which makes his cruelty all the worse to justify, and a little bit more frightening, because even in the knowledge of the consequences of his actions, he does them anyway. So he's kind of a bit of a philosopher. He will philosophize then about how the nature of the world is such that he has no real choice. But he knows and understands that, of course, he does. So that's why he's a villain. Well, he kind of, he pushes it a bit far at times, but he keeps control because he assumes an authority. He acts on it without conscience. And so he's formidable in his mind and in his commitment to villainy and doing things at all costs. And for people, even with superpowers, who are kind of slightly, Jack Huston's kind of Flint is, you can see there's a good guy in there somewhere struggling to get out and all that. You're going to have power over that if you do not care. And so it's just a human thing. People do this most extraordinary things for the most horrible people because there's some kind of power in not caring, and people recognize it. So a lot of it is bluff. It's pure bluff, and like when it's called, in the end, he's not that powerful, really. Not against those. So I remember I was a teacher for 10 years, and I remember realizing that a lot of this is bluff. If these guys actually decide to take the law into their own hands, there's not going to be an awful lot you can do about it. But you keep them believing that it wouldn't be a good idea. And so a lot of it is just about mind games, really. This is his, philosophy. I have a sneaking suspicion that he is pushing Kat to do what she eventually does, or has already, been ahead of the curve and been doing it already. And that when he says at the very end that he's glad it was her, it almost subconsciously is pushing her to do it. So it's a very interesting kind of notion. I don't think he has a suicide wish as such, but he realizes that this is his last big flare. This is his last big kind of kick of a dying horse, and he wants to go out in style. So I think he never be satisfied. It's a very interesting philosophy. A lot of winning sports people embrace it, and there's no such thing as second. It's an awful way to live, really, but it doesn't do. You probably win more competitions that way.
Kat Hardy is the femme fatale of SPIDER-NOIR, and most femme fatales are known for women who lead their men to ruin. But it was important to me, just like you said, on the nose, that I wanted to humanize her, because I think the universal theme of this show is that there is no true villain. Everyone is innately good, and we are all in a situation where everyone wants to do the right thing, but possibly at the cost of hurting someone. So that's what where I stand with Kat.
Yeah, I remember with that the humanization of it is very important. It's such a great version of where, while living within the sort of comic book space, this felt like a very grounded version of where we were going in 1930s New York. So these characters had to ring true and had to be real, that they're going through this sort of internal struggle, each one of us. So, rather than being straight villains, they're anti-heroes. Mm-hmm. And we all sort of said the same thing on that, which
absolutely. And I think for me, there's a very interesting, very seductive style and pace to noir movies, and I think getting to work on this, the way the scenes were written, the way we were directed, we got to play into that. So that was a really fun thing to experience and learning. Okay, cool. Like we've got like a sort of like a condensed space and time to get high drama out whilst keeping it grounded, and that was a really interesting challenge.
He's the spider. We know that he has more responsibility than just a regular old private eye. Mm-hmm. He is somebody who holds the weight of the city in his hands. Mm-hmm. He used to control crime in the city. He used to kind of keep things under wraps, keep the people safe. But when the spider went away, I know for Robbie, he knew. He knew the heartache that he felt, the heartbreak, the loss. He knew of it all. So he knows that he's just a human. He's a human with these extraordinary gifts. And so while the city is like, where's the spider? What's going on? He knows that he's dealing with something. And it's years go by and he's like, you got to figure it out. Enough sitting on your grief bed. It's time to get up. So that's something that a lot of people can't appreciate.
I think for Janet, she understands that he's just been. He's just been. I think her engine is propping just his personhood, not any responsibility, not any calling that he has. Of course, she believes in it. And if he so desires it, she desires it for him. But ultimately, I think she just wants her friend to be okay. And I think, there's something special about that. So I think they just see him as the person rather than this epic superhero necessarily. Yeah.
So good question. That's a good question. I think the audition process was very much the sort of key. Like us all sort of, when you were going in there, it was finding the character that when we were cast, we actually had quite a bit of confidence in the direction we'd already taken. So, and that's usually a specific scene that they wanted us to do when we read. And that very much felt like that was the key into the character, because it was sort of such a tragic, beautiful scene that I had to read. I don't want to give anything away, but it just said that there was a lot more going on underneath, that told us that these were real sort of beautiful, rather charming, tragic anti-heroes. So that was cool.
I could say there was myself and Abraham. He plays Lonnie in the show. We had a moment in a shack where we did a scene, but it was months before production started. It was a scene. They were testing some stuff. They ended up using it in the show, but we were figuring our characters out during that time, and so that was a bit of our workshop. That was a bit of our workplace. We were putting stuff out there. The director was figuring things out. Art department was figuring things out. Everybody was figuring things out, and we got a chance to kind of play and figure out what we wanted to do with the characters in that moment. So I would probably say that scene in the shack with Abe and I was definitely a moment where we kind of got a chance to see what we had a little bit and see what was sticking and what wasn't.
I mean, there's definitely ones that come later, but I think the biggest challenge and the thing that sets it off, my first scene was my first scene in the show. And I think there was something about the pace of that, the familiarity, the way that Janet is moving around the office, trying to get him to, let's start work, you're late, you're coming in drunk, that was challenging and thrilling at the same time, and it really set the tone. Like me and Nick were really discovering each other and discovering our unique interpretations of the characters. And I think he told me I'd like to think that we both were surprised by each other's interpretation. And so, but that scene was pivotal because I do think that the things we found there, even though it's just a scene of introduction, it continued to deepen as we went. But it was from that scene. Yeah.